Hey, everyone, I'm at the movie theaters today. I want to do my review on Beetlejuice. But before I do, you can see a little glare on that poster, but it is the Beetlejuice poster. Oh, right, all right, said it 4 times already. But anyways, I want to show some props and souvenirs that you can actually get at the theater. So you can see the recently deceased boat from the movie, and the nice cup bottle of this as well too. This is the popcorn case too. You can't actually see where the popcorn actually goes in. It goes in from the other side of that tombstone, believe it or not. And that lights up this as well too at night. That's a cool little effect. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We're looking at in our Beetlejuice thing, a phone control holder. Okay, so Beetlejuice can hold your phone for you if you don't want to hold your phone for yourself. Okay, these are really cool. I just recently got one of these at the Giants game, Pop Funkos. And this looks like a really cool Beetlejuice. It looks like once we go to the bottom here, we actually have more characters towards the movie just as well too. That's Astrid. Jenna Ortega plays her. And you can't actually see his shrunken head, but that is actually Bob. Oh, there we go. Bob from the movie just as well too. Okay, so what do we have going in this book? Okay, so to enter the afterworld, make a door and knock 3 times on it. I do remember that from the first one, yes. Other things in this book. How to burn a sandworm by making a trapdoor. Okay, that's a little creepy. So anyways, I have this handbook for the recently deceased. I've actually had it for a while. I did not get this at the theater on what I just showed you at the theater. It's a great little pop, I gotta say. But what can I say about Beetlejuice? I gotta say, it's a sequel from the Fallen Beetlejuice that what happened back in 1988. A continuous story, I gotta say, because the story seemed to continue from the first one. Because you gotta remember from the first one, Beetlejuice wanted to marry Lydia in order to be back into our universe. And that was pretty much that same story as well, too, in this sequel. And before I go any further, too, we had 3 returning characters to play their roles. Once again, Michael Keaton, who plays Beetlejuice. This story would not been possible. The sequel, I should probably say, with Michael Keaton turned down the role. I would probably have not seen the movie. We also have Kathleen O'Hara, who plays Adele. And we also have Ryder, this is Will playing Lydia once again. And so if you guys aren't familiar, this is a little Easter egg this as well too. I don't want to give too much away because I like to have this video spoiler free. But if you guys aren't realized, the original title of this movie back in 1980 was supposed to be House Ghost. But unfortunately, they thought Beetlejuice was a better name, which I actually kind of glad they actually stuck to that name because it gives us that ghostly a little figure from the afterworld. It's dealing like some sort of therapist or what. I don't know how to actually rephrase Beetlejuice's background. But that's the cool thing about this sequel. They give us a little bit of a background actually of Beetlejuice. And I actually thought that was slightly clever why he wanted to get married in the first place. Even from the first movie to Lydia, this as well too. And he still wants the same thing once again in this sequel. So we've new faces as well too. We have Jenna Ortega playing Astrid, which is Lydia's daughter. Willem Dafoe this as well too. You got to remember him from back with Speed 2 playing that villain. He seems to play the villains a lot in these movies, but he's so perfect with it this as well too. He also plays the light-hearted side just as well in the movies as well too. But here we are with him being in the afterlife playing a detective cop trying to find out what's going on with the these mystery deaths in the afterlife. Isn't the afterlife supposed to be dead? That's exactly what I didn't get, but I actually thought at the same time that was a little fun actually how they actually did that. And it made me feel like they gave us more of the afterlife world in this movie, which I like. That's the one thing I did like about this movie a lot. Because in the first movie, it didn't seem that we didn't get that much of it in the first one. We got more of our universe. And you got to remember too, this as well too, that couple that passed away in the first movie, this as well too. The story really revolved around them. It wasn't really involved around Beetlejuice, believe it or not. And you got to realize too, Beetlejuice only showed up for like 15 to 16 minutes in the first film. But this is not the case in the second one. This is the fun thing this as well too, why they created this sequel. He actually gave more airtime to Michael Keaton, this as well too, to play that classic little role called Beetlejuice. And so anyways, I really thought the movie was good, on good level. Was it a good sequel? I don't know. I'm almost there saying it was decent enough to actually go through. But I'm also want to feel like this as well too. If the sequel was actually created like 2 to 3 years after this first movie was actually created, what would the story actually be? If the story, the story would be much different from what it was in this Beetlejuice movie. And what they actually done. So I think if I'm gonna respond to that, I think that might have to be a different video because I wanted to do a full review with this, which I thought was good. And then once again, Tim Burton was brought back to direct this movie once again. He did so well with the first movie, and back then with CGI and everything, CGI wasn't really around back then that much. So they had to use stop motion, which is, if you're not familiar, it's mostly like a clay motion. And that stuff is even harder to do than CGI because you have to really keep your hands still and keep frame by frame each shot. If you remember those models that Lydia actually made in the first movie, that's what they used, and then they actually call stop motion. And they actually did a good amount of it in this sequel. Yes, they also worked with CGI, which is new from the Beetlejuice universe. This as well too. So that's what it was clever the way they actually did it. And the story with this, there's multiple different stories this as well in this movie. But this wasn't focused on Beetlejuice, but there's actually different stories. Astrid, the daughter of Lydia, seemed like she almost the same character she actually played back in 1988 when Lydia was at that same age. But of course, Astrid was kind of frustrated with their parents and went off into town to bump into this boy. But there's a lot more that meets the eyes. Once again, this is a spoiler free, so I don't want to move on to that story. But there's stories like that. And the stories of a different villain approach in this movie, which I wish they give more time to her just as too. That was Monica's part just as well, and as a new character just as well. That I would love to see a little more. I thought the ending was a little weak just as well too. They could have done a little more to the story. And yes, you got to realize too how Deo was actually the big hit scene in the first Beetlejuice around that dinner table. Classic in every memory I can actually remember from that. They did a similar thing in this movie, but I did not feel the song was as catchy as I thought it would be. I understand the reason why they actually chose the song, but I don't want to give too much of detail into that. But also this as well too. I don't think this movie is this. I don't think they're not going to end with this Beetlejuice because once they do two movies, it's most likely going to be a third movie. There's a slight opening in this movie, end of this movie, that I see another sequel happening with this as well too. Okay, I'm gonna stop myself there because I don't want to spoil it from you guys. But overall, I really thought this was a really good, decent movie. It's like a B movie for me. I would have given it a little higher, but it's just some things like I just mentioned I thought was a little off. But it's still a fun movie. It's slow in the beginning, maybe the first 20 minutes. Even thought about actually walking out, which I don't usually do that, but I'm glad I stuck with it because after the half hour, it's a fun ride the whole entire way. After the half hour point to the end of the movie, it really was fun. And for things you don't know this as well too, back in the 1980s, I think it was 1989 when the rating system actually changed. It went to PG to PG-13 R rated. Beetlejuice was actually rated at PG, so it was in the mark of 1988. You got the F-bomb going around in a family movie, in other words that you don't want your kids to listen to. But this Beetlejuice, the sequel, is actually a PG-13 rated film, so all that actually works fine just as well too. Even the F-bomb was lying down once, I gotta say. But it was used in a funny classic way because he had favorite classic quotes from the movie just as well too when Beetlejuice himself was a model, knocks down the tree and says, "Nice freaking models," but he didn't exactly say that. I'm not going to say that on my station. But that's the other thing too. Beetlejuice had really good classic lines in the first movie. I'm the ghost with the most, babe. Make my lipidarium. All that stuff. But the only thing I really that was really catchy was the thing that you saw in the trailer was the juice is back. I like that. I like that line, but I didn't see any good other classic lines in this sequel. So it's me. I thought this, once again, the story lagged a little bit, but I also had a fun time at the same time, and I thought this was an enjoyable movie. So anyways, go out there and check it for yourself. I'd love to hear your opinions as well too. What do you think about the movie? Leave your comments down below. Other than that, I can start wrapping things up. Thank you for watching. Make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe. I guess I'll see you next time, maybe at the movies.